Coming up on Newsline Wednesday, October 11, 2023.
As strikes devastate Gaza, Israel has formed a unity government.
Israelis are desperately trying to fly home.
The number of U.S. citizens killed in the Israeli-Hamas conflict rises.
And the House GOP Speaker nomination vote is canceled.
In world news, another earthquake strikes Afghanistan, Ukraine President Zelensky seeks more support for its war with Russia, and a journalist is released from 3 years of detainment. I'm Isaac Brendel, and I'll have all that and more later in the broadcast.
In entertainment tonight, Will and Jada are kaput, and Keith Urban's secret sauce to songwriting. I'm Ricky Huber, and I'll have all that and more later in the broadcast.
And in sports, Hofstra women's soccer gets back into their groove and a look at the packed postseason of the MLB. I'm Max Green. I'll have all that and more in sports later in the broadcast.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Peter Nicolino.
And I'm Amber Bianchi. We begin tonight's broadcast with the ongoing Hamas-Israeli war. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and a prominent opposition figure created a wartime cabinet responsible for overseeing the response to the Avenge a stunning weekend attack by Hamas militants today. In a sealed-off Gaza Strip under the rule of Hamas, Palestinians suffer escalates as Israeli bombardment demolishes neighborhoods and the Seoul power plant runs out of fuel. Leader of the Israeli forces that cleared the area, Major General Itai Vernus, speaking from the site.
It's not a war. It's not a battlefield. You see the babies, the mother, the fathers in their bedrooms, in their protection rooms, and how the terrorists kill them. It's not a war. It's not a battlefield. It's a massacre. It's a terror activity. So you can look it on yourself. It's something that I never saw in my life.
The establishment of this new cabinet signifies a degree of unity after years of bittery, defies politics, particularly as the Israeli militants increasingly contemplates launching a ground offense into Gaza. The conflict has already claimed the lives of at least 23,000 people on both sides.
Amidst the most challenging times, certain Israelis residing abroad are not fleeing from the conflict in their homeland, but rather rushing towards it. From Athens to New York, they are swiftly heading to airports and engaging in online chat rooms, seeking assistance to return to the country following the attacks by Hamas militants. These Israelis abroad harbor a strong desire to contribute, whether by joining a military reserve unit or volunteering to transport supplies to those in need.
The State Department announced today that there is a number of United States citizens confirmed to have been killed in the Israeli-Hamas war has risen to at least 22, marking an increase from yesterday's total of 14 people. President Joe Biden also confirmed yesterday that U.S. citizens are among the estimated 150 hostages captured by Hamas militants during their shocking weekend assault on Israel. The president also assured that his administration would make better efforts to support Israel.
Today, my commitment to Israel's security and the safety of the Jewish people is unshakable. The United States has Israel's back, and we're going to be working on this all through today and beyond. But again, I apologize for keeping you waiting.
The attack raised questions about the potential influence of Iran, the main sponsor of Hamas, and whether Iran was involved. However, the U.S. has gathered information indicating that senior Iranian government officials were caught off guard by the multi-pronged assault.
Ohio Representative Jim Jordan did not explicitly say today whether he would advise colleagues planning to vote for him as Speaker on the floor or not to do so. However, Jordan, who received 99 votes in contrast to Representative Steve Scalise's 113 votes earlier today in a closed House GOP vote to select their nominee for Speaker, emphasized that it is, quote, a critical time for the House of Representatives to reconvene and have a Speaker of the House. Here is Scalise from earlier today.
Obviously, we have a very important vote. It's really, really important that this Congress get back to work. We select a speaker, go to the House floor, get to 218, and then get the House working again.
Jordan expressed that he was unaware of the latest developments regarding the timing of a potential floor vote, but expressed his hope that it would soon, quote, that it would occur soon, quote, with Scalise succeeding on the first attempt.
Coming up after your Newsline World Report with Isaac Brendel, George Santos denies new charges that he stole campaign donors' IDs. Ed Romaine and Dave Colon spare over crime in affordable housing. And Hochul calls on social media companies to remove hateful posts. But first, your Newsline traffic and weather update with Jordan Jenkins. WRHU News Time is 5:35.
Newsline. Up to the minute local traffic.
Good evening. It's officially sweater weather. It's 69 degrees and sunny. The high temperature is a moderate 71 degrees with a nice cool low of 51. Now, let's slide to traffic. A water main break on Long Beach Road between Mott Street and Dolly Boulevard in Oceanside has multiple lanes blocked. Expect delays in the area. Road work in Franklin Street and Fulton Avenue in Hempstead has left some lanes blocked. Overnight road work and paving operations on the Northern State Parkway westbound between exit 44 in Smithtown and exit 42 South Deer Park Road in Huntington, with operations expected to last until Friday, October 13th. There are 11-minute delays on the Southern State Parkway. Staying on the Southern State Parkway, an auto accident on the westbound of exit 21 Nassau Road has created slowdowns in the area. A disabled vehicle on the I-495 westbound between exit 36 Searingtown Road and North Hempstead has the right shoulder blocked. And side roads in towns in Uniondale and Rockville Center have some delays. My second and final update is later in the broadcast.
Newsline. International news.
In world news, another major earthquake shook western Afghanistan this morning, this time a 6.3 magnitude quake. The earthquake flattened all 700 homes in a village that was untouched by the tremors on previous days. No deaths were reported, as many had already taken shelter. Taliban officials said that more than 2,000 people had died across Herat after earlier quakes. Villagers are scared and distraught over the loss of their homes and belongings and fear the coming harsh winter months. Some said that they have never seen an earthquake before and wondered when the shaking of the ground would stop. At a meeting with more than 50 defense leaders around the world, Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky made a personal pitch for military aid in the face of lagging political support and new pressure on allies to send support to Israel for its war with Hamas. Zelensky's presence underscored growing concerns about cracks in what has been staunch international backing for Ukraine in its war with Russia. Asked about concerns that Ukraine now could get less military support because of the war in Israel, Zelensky said that there is a, quote, very understandable volume that the U.S. and Europe can provide. He also acknowledged the uncertainty with the current events in Israel. Speaking of Israel and Ukraine, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said that both allies will be supported. Austin said, quote, we can and will do both. Climate activist Greta Thunberg has been fined again, this time at a climate protest in Sweden. On July 24th, Thunberg disobeyed law enforcement and with a group of people temporarily blocked the entrance to an oil facility where the protest was taking place. She was dragged away by two uniformed officers. A Chinese-Australian journalist who was convicted on Murray espionage charges and detained in China for 3 years has returned to Australia. 48-year-old Chang Lei worked for the International Department of China's state broadcaster CCTV. Today, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese announced that Lei is back home and reunited with her two children in Melbourne. With your Newsline World Report, I'm Isaac Brendel.
WRHU News Time is 5:39. Thank you to Jordan and Isaac for those reports. New York District 3 Representative George Santos said today that he is vigorously contesting a new set of federal criminal charges to, quote, the bitter end, and has resisted renewed calls for his expulsion from Congress. Federal prosecutors filed a superseding indictment with 10 new charges yesterday, including wire fraud and identity theft. These charges were in addition to the 13-count indictment filed by prosecutors this summer, alleging that Santos defrauded campaign donors by using campaign funds for personal expenses, such as designer clothing. The new charges allege that Santos appropriated thousands of dollars from his campaign contributors by charging their credit cards without authorization. He also faces accusations of submitting fraudulent fundraising reports to obtain financial support from national political groups for his congressional campaign.
Suffolk County Executive candidates Ed Romaine and Dave Colon met for a debate hosted by Newsday yesterday. The candidates tackled several issues facing Long Islanders, including affordable housing, the Brookhaven landfill, and drinking water regulations. Republican Romaine stressed his political experience and criticized Colon for failing to, quote, bring people together and get things done. Democrat Colon argued he could bring a fresh perspective to the job and labeled Romaine as a, quote, creature of a government for 40 years.
Governor Kathy Hochul is urging social media outlets to remove hateful content in the wake of the Israel-Hamas conflict. Hochul's plea came after she met with New York State Police and received an update on increased security measures at synagogues and yeshivas. Hochul said that it is time for social media companies to also increase security on their platforms. Although it is unclear what steps social media sites have taken against harmful speech relating to war, law enforcement is working to track online threats.
Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman held a rally in Eisenhower Park in East Meadow yesterday to show support for Israel. Thousands of Long Islanders waved their blue and white flags in support of the war-torn nation. WRHU's Max Green was at the scene.
Israel was fired upon, but we're here tonight through faith to make the bold assertion that it will backfire.
It was the largest rally in support of Israel on Long Island.
Israel is at war, not about revenge, but about survival.
Thousands gathered yesterday at the Harry Chapin Lakeside Theater for the rally organized by Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman to give their thoughts and prayers for the country of Israel.
Our unity, our compassion, and our resolve matter more today than ever before. Together we are so much stronger than hatred.
Belmore resident Matthew Alexander was just one of many who had loved ones caught up in the mix of the ensuing Israel-Hamas war.
I have friends who are in Israel, I have family friends who are in Israel, and I really want support because what happened in Israel is abominable, and it's killing people that don't deserve to be killed.
Nassau County legislator Mazi Pilip spoke from the perspective of a former Israel Defense Force member, pleading for the safety of her sister who currently serves in Israel in that same occupation.
This is Siggy, my sister. As a Jew, as a former Israeli soldier, as American, you make me proud.
Congressman Anthony D'Esposito, who recently joined Blakeman in asking the Biden administration to provide U.S. resources to the war effort, left a video message for the attending supporters.
Not only have we been forced to bear witness to such horrific acts of violence by Hamas, but we have also seen terrorist sympathizers in cities around the world, including New York, cheer the widespread killing of Jews. The masks are now off, and the anti-Semites have reared their ugly heads for all of us to see. We must use our collective voice to silence those who seek the eradication of the Jewish state and the Jewish people.
Today and always, Nassau County stands with Israel and the Jewish people of the world. Am Yisrael Chai!
As Israelis continue in their struggle against Hamas, Nassau County assures that they will stand in support of them. Reporting for Newsline, I'm Max Green, WRHU.
That report, the conflict has already claimed the lives of 2,300 people on both sides. Shifting back to Long Island, controversy grows in North Hempstead around town supervisor Jennifer DeSena after Democrats alleged her illegally hiring and paying a hearing officer. The allegations are prompting investigations by Nassau County's comptroller following reports of harassment and retaliation complaints surrounding other local Nassau County public officials. Supervisor DeSena responded to the allegations saying they were, quote, October publicity stunts.
The Riverhead School Board appointed separate attorneys yesterday to investigate unspecified allegations against 2 district employees. The attorneys appointed are Jody Benjamin Feiner, based in Glen Cove, and Elena Kakavas, based in Manhasset. Feiner, with a fee dated September 26, and Kakavas, with a retainer dated October 9th, will investigate these allegations against separate district employees. Nevertheless, the board has not revealed the allegations details or the employees' identities involved. The move occurred within a week of the board granting Superintendent Augustine Tornatante an unexpected leave of absence.
Anne-Marie Drago, the woman charged for the murder of teenager Evelyn Rodriguez, had her retrial yesterday for criminally negligent homicide. After Drago's previous conviction was overturned in 2022, she's standing trial in the young girl's death for the second time. The court remains divided, hearing opening statements yesterday from both the prosecution and the defense attorney. In their opposing arguments, they addressed whether Drago had criminal intent behind the killing of Evelyn Rodriguez, with the defense arguing Drago's actions to be simply, quote, fight or flight response.
According to a recent report released by the community advocacy organization, Nassau police arrested black people and Latinos at a significantly higher rate than white people in 2022. This comes more than a year after county legislators approved a reform plan aimed to reducing racial disparities in policing. The report, monitoring police reforms in Nassau County, stated that black people were arrested by Nassau police up to 5.7 times more than white people last year, and Latinos were arrested up to 2.4 times more than white people.
The LGBT network announced a new hotline for the LGBTQIA+ community on Long Island and in New York City to report hate crimes, set to launch today on National Coming Out Day. Founder and president of the Hauppauge-based LGBT network, David Kilmnick, said, quote, "This new hotline and service for LGBT hate crime victims will provide free and confidential support and information for LGBT people who have experienced hate crimes or are at risk of experiencing hate crimes."
New York Attorney General Letitia James, along with Georgia Attorney General Christopher Carr and New Jersey Attorney General Matthew Plankton, has filed a complaint against Favenifas Vascular Care Incorporation and its New York-based executive and several affiliated entities. The company alleges that they were subjected Medicaid recipients and end-stage renal disease to unnecessary surgeries and defrauded the New York State Medicaid program. The defendants purposely rescheduled ESRD patients for appointments every 3 to 4 months.
A 75-year-old Comac man, Charles Limmer, has been indicted on charges of smuggling protected deceased butterflies. According to the United States Attorney's Office in Brooklyn, allegedly Limner labeled his shipments as, quote, decorative wall coverings or, quote, origami papercraft. The indictment filed yesterday accuses him of trafficking in multiple species of butterflies known as birdwings due to their exceptional size, angular wings, and bird-like flight. He is to be arraigned later and faces up to 20 years in prison if convicted. Charges include conspiracy to smuggle wildlife into the U.S., smuggling wildlife in and out of the U.S., and violations of the Lacey Act's prohibition on trafficking in and falsely labeling wildlife.
The town of Huntington will pay Bethpage Federal Credit Union $2.7 million to resolve a lawsuit concerning Thatched Cottage Catering Hall in Centerport selling. The venue closed in 2014 after declaring bankruptcy. In 2016, the credit union sued the town, alleging that officials deliberately obstructed the sale of the building during bankruptcy proceedings due to the relationship some town employees had with the former owner of the venue, Ralph Kamamusi. The state Supreme Court in Suffolk County filed the lawsuit. In August 2022, the U.S. Bankruptcy Court judge for the Eastern District of New York ruled in favor of the credit union during the liability phase of the lawsuit after the case had gone to trial.
The town of Brookhaven Supervisor Ed Romaine, members of the town council, the Department of Housing and Community Development, and the Long Island Housing Partnership announced the launch of the 2023 Town of Brookhaven's Down Payment Assistance Program for first-time homebuyers later this month. This program offers eligible first-time homebuyers up to $39,000 in down payment and closing cost assistance for the purchase of a new or existing single-family home, provided they meet the necessary requirements to secure a mortgage.
Those impacted by relentless rainfall in the late September may be able to seek federal aid. Residents across Long Island are being urged to report any damages on their properties from the major storm that impacted many communities from September 24th to the 30th. The dedicated damage self-assessment tool is now available. The tool comes in a survey for individuals and businesses that experienced loss during the storm. The form's objective is to gather vital information that can assist state and local authorities in identifying supplementary damages, which could lead to shaping and reinforcing potential requests for federal assistance programs.
There was a celebration of the Hispanic heritage at One Police Plaza yesterday. The celebration was a collaboration between the New York Police Department Hispanic Society and the New York Dominican officers. At the event, members of the NYPD's Hispanic Society were honored for their accomplishments in the department. Among those honored was Sergeant Special Assignment Carlos Nieves, who was recognized for his 33 years of service, including 17 years as a spokesperson for the department. Actor Luis Guzman was also honored for his charitable work in the city.
Coming up, your Newsline Entertainment Report with Ricky Huber. But first, your traffic update with Jordan Jenkins. WRHU News Time is 5:50.
Newsline traffic.
Listen closely. An auto accident on Northern State Parkway westbound between exit 35 South and exit 34 Brush Hollow Road has the right lane blocked. Overnight roadwork and paving operations on the I-495 in both directions between exit 61 Patchtaw Colebrook Road and exit 63 North Ocean Avenue in Brookhaven have created delays in the area. A crash on Meadowbrook State Parkway northbound between exit M6 East, Southern State Parkway, and exit M5 Hempstead Turnpike has created has the right shoulder blocked. Roadwork in Baldwin near Grand Avenue and Sunrise Highway has created slight delays in the area. There are 7-minute slowdowns on the Jackie Robinson Parkway. Additionally, there are delays in Center Reach and Stony Brook. With your Newsline traffic and weather updates, I'm Jordan Jenkins.
Newsline. Entertainment.
Keith Urban and Kix Brooks of Brooks and Dunn fame will be inducted into the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame this evening. Mr. Urban said recently when asked what the secret to great songwriting is, there isn't one, calling it, quote, one of the most elusive things. Some days it flows and other days there's nothing. Mr. Urban also added that if there is no inspiration, quote, just be in the moment and flow. Although when inspiration does hit, it is, quote, an amazing feeling as, quote, the song exists and will always exist. Now let's transition to a different kind of singer with a very different kind of music.
Bring it.
Yes, it's true. Jada and Will are kaput and apparently have been for quite some time. Jada Pinkett Smith revealed in an interview with today's Hodakatbi that her and Jiggy with its singer, Will Smith, separated in 2016. The news came as a shock to many, considering Miss Pinkett Smith's vulnerability exhibited on Red Table Talk, especially when it comes to the topic of the Smiths' marriage, as well as when addressing the slap heard round the world. Of course, we are referring to the evening where Mr. Smith approached the Oscar stage to slap Chris Rock after making a joke targeted towards his estranged wife. Miss Pinkett Smith added that despite their 2016 separation, she doesn't believe that she could ever divorce Mr. Smith, stating, quote, I made a promise that there will never be a reason for us to get a divorce. We will work through whatever. Her memoir, Worthy, comes out on October 17th. With your Newsline Entertainment Report, I'm Ricky Huber, WRHU.
WRHU News Time is 5:52. Thank you, Jordan and Ricky, for those reports. For the past 5 years, the largest U.S. city along the Mexican border has established an efficient system for accommodating asylum seekers. However, the system is facing an unprecedented challenge as the U.S. Customs and Border Protection releases migrants onto the streets of California's second largest city due to full shelters. Since September 13th, approximately 13,000 individuals have been relocated at transit systems, receiving notices to appear in immigration court at their ultimate destinations in the U.S., and around 500 more are arriving daily.
The Coast Guard has finished removing all the debris in the Atlantic Ocean from the Titan submersible implosion back in June. Following initial recovery efforts, an agreement was reached with the U.S. Navy to begin searching for debris about 1,600 feet from the Titanic. Presumed human remains were also collected and given to the U.S. medical professionals to analyze. The debris field was determined to be at 12,500 feet below sea level.
Following last Tuesday's shooting, Morgan State University says they will build a wall around parts of campus, as well as security personnel areas. The wall covers about 18,000 feet and encircles 90% of campus. Their goal is to, quote, eliminate unrestricted access, says University President Dave Wilson. Improvements and security measures were already in place prior to the shooting and are expected to cost beyond $22 million.
ACT test scores have dropped to a 30-year low in the U.S. Scores have trended down for 6 years, but the COVID-19 pandemic accelerated the numbers to all-time lows. Many universities made standardized admission tests optional, resulting in the average scores in reading, science, and math all below benchmarks. The ACT says for students to have a higher probability of success in the first years of college courses.
Human rights advocate Oleg Orlov was fined approximately $15,000 for criticizing the war in Ukraine, marking the latest step in an unrelated crackdown on activists, independent journalists, and opposing figures. Orlov, the co-chairman of the Nobel Peace Prize-winning human rights group Memorial, was convicted of publicly discrediting the Russian military due to a Facebook post denouncing the invasion of Ukraine. The law enacted after Kremlin sent troops across the border, criminalizing such offenses when committed repeatedly within a year. Orlov has already been fined twice for anti-war protests before facing criminal charges.
In-person voting for a November ballot measure on abortion rights began today in Ohio. This is the latest state where voters will decide the issue after the United States Supreme Court overturned a nationwide right to the procedure last year. Ohio is the only state to present an abortion rights question to voters this fall, making it a testing ground for messaging ahead of the 2024 elections, when it will likely appear on the ballot in more states and play a crucial role in the races up and down the ballot.
Coming up, your Newsline Sports Break with Max Green. WRHU News Time is 5:56.
From the Philip Cavallero Sports Desk, this is your Newsline Sports Update.
The women's soccer team gets back on the pitch to host Elon tomorrow night. Victoria Franck continues to lead the Pride in scoring with 4 goals and 4 assists. The Pride are 7-2-0 with the Phoenix. Last time the teams clashed, Elon overcame the Pride with a 2-1 win. Kickoff for tomorrow's game is 7 p.m. Jack Sargent and Julia Kavanaugh will have the call for you on the Hofstra Alternative Web Channel. Into the MLB, it is a playoff palooza tonight. The Atlanta Braves currently lead the Philadelphia Phillies in the middle of the third of Game 3. Both teams are looking to break their tied 1-1 series. Following up the battle at Philadelphia, the Minnesota Twins are looking to force Game 5 with the Houston Astros. The Astros are sending Jose Urquidy to the mound. Minnesota is countering with Joe Ryan. First pitch is 7:07 at Target Field. Rounding it out, the Dodgers are in need of a comeback against the Diamondbacks. Los Angeles' 2-0 deficit only adds to the team's less than impressive postseason record. Relative newcomers Lance Lynn and Brandon Pfaadt are expected to be on the mound. First pitch is set for 9:07 at Chase Field. And finally, the WNBA, NY Liberty gears up for Game 2 with the Las Vegas Aces. The Aces won the last game in shocking fashion, meaning Liberty is risking something foreign to them, which is losing 2 games in a row. Tip-off is set for 9 p.m. With your Newsline Sports Update, I'm Max Green, WRHU.
And that will do it for tonight's edition of Newsline. Many thanks to the entire WHU News team. Engineering our show this evening is the yummy Yao Bansu.
That's a term. Thank you for tuning in to Newsline, only here on your 4-time Marconi Award-winning radio station, 88.7 FM, Radio Hofstra University.
Access real-time, local Long Island, New York, and global news, along with content from WRHU talent Monday through Thursday, 5:30 to 6 p.m.
You can tune back in from 7 to 9 a.m. Monday through Friday for our morning walk talk show. You can find me there tomorrow, where we discuss Long Island life, national news, and international issues from the minds and the mouths of Hofstra students on the morning wake-up call.
Lastly, check us out on social media at WRHU News for behind-the-scenes content.
And give that Instagram a follow.
For Newsline, I'm Peter Nicolino.
And I'm Amber Bianchi.
Thank you for listening.
Have a great night, Long Island.